A U.S. warship sailed through the Taiwan Strait in what the American military described as a routine passage Wednesday, but enraging China, which claims sovereignty over the island and surrounding seas. Ties between Beijing and Washington have deteriorated in recent months over issues including trade and Hong Kong, with the self-ruled island of Taiwan a long-running source of tension. The guided missile destroyer USS Barry passed through the strait on October 14, according to a statement by the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The ship's transit through the Taiwan Strait demonstrates the U.S. commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific, the statement said. The U.S. Navy will continue to fly, sail and operate anywhere international law allows, it added. Any U.S. Navy operations in the Taiwan Strait, which separates China from the island, provoke a strong response from Beijing, which considers Taiwan to be an inviolable part of its territory. In an angry riposte, the Chinese People's Liberation Army said it tracked the USS Barry by sea and air, throughout the entire process. We warn the U.S. to stop its words and deeds that provoke trouble and disturb the situation in the Taiwan Strait, Eastern Theater Command spokesperson Colonel Zhang Chunhui said. The island has been governed separately since the end of a civil war in China in 1949. Taiwan has its own flag, currency, and military, but it is not recognized as an independent nation by the UN. Washington ended its diplomatic relations with Taipei in 1979 to improve ties with China, but the U.S. remains the island's most powerful ally and its main arms supplier. China has threatened to use force if Taipei proclaims independence or if there is foreign intervention. Beijing views the passage of foreign vessels through the strait as a violation of its sovereignty. Washington and many other countries, on the other hand, see the waterway as part of international waters and therefore open to all. Meanwhile, the White House's approval last week of advanced arms sales to Taiwan is a sign that the U.S. is putting muscle behind its vocal support for the island's defense against Chinese aggression. The sales include SLAM-er air-to-ground missiles, drones, and a coastal defense missile system. According to analysts, the equipment will immediately boost Taiwan's capability to counter several Chinese attack scenarios. Reuters cited an unidentified official saying the sales are valued at around $5 billion. If Congress approves the deal, a near formality given bipartisan support for Taiwan's defense, the U.S. will have sold around $17.5 billion in weapons to Taiwan during President Donald Trump's 4 years in office. Beijing consistently opposes U.S. arms sales to Taiwan, which the Chinese Communist Party considers part of its territory despite never having ruled it. But the particular weapons being sold make up a diverse, offense-ready package that experts say could indicate a shift in U.S. military strategy, and could provoke China even more than usual. White House officials have internally discussed ending Washington's policy of strategic ambiguity, according to the Financial Times. The U.S. currently refuses to publicly divulge whether it would provide military support to Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion. The arms sales, however, send their own message. The Boeing-made long-range SLAM-er air-to-ground missiles could be used in a counterstrike directed at Chinese mainland targets, or, theoretically, even in a first strike. It's not a defensive weapon, said Dennis Wang, an assistant professor of political science at Sam Houston State University who has researched Taiwan's military capability. The U.S. is trying to send a stronger signal. Washington has a standing commitment to supply weapons to Taipei as part of the Taiwan Relations Act, which was ratified after the U.S. formally broke diplomatic ties with the island in 1979. Yun Sun, director of the China program at the Stimson Center, a Washington think tank, warned against interpreting the latest arms sales as a sign of a significant shift in U.S. policy toward Taiwan. At different times, the U.S. plays up or down certain components of existing policies governing relations with Taiwan, she said. If there's going to be an attack on Taiwan by China, the chance of the U.S. doing nothing and not lifting a finger is going to be minimal. Sun described the weapons included in the 5 approved sales as precisely what Taiwan would need in an asymmetric counterattack strategy to China. Military officials and experts in both the U.S. and Taiwan have long called for Taipei to develop such capabilities to withstand Chinese aggression. U.S. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien said earlier this month that Taiwan should become like a military porcupine, adding that lions generally don't like to eat porcupines. Taiwan right now should consider its limited budget and the threats posed by the People's Liberation Army and prioritize precision ammunition such as the weaponry included in the latest arms sales, said Su Su-yun, an analyst at the government-funded Institute for National Defense and Security Research in Taipei. In the past, experts have criticized the necessity of some weaponry included in U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. Taiwan last year agreed to purchase 108 M1A2T Abrams tanks from the U.S. in a transaction that raised eyebrows among analysts skeptical of their utility in a conflict with China. The weapons Taiwan buys from the United States can be dictated by American politics just as they are by Taiwan's military needs, said Wang, who also questioned the Abrams tank sale. He added, however, that any arms sale will be effective to Taiwan. On October 10, days before the arms sales were reported, Tsai gave a speech in which she declined to strike an aggressive tone and instead reiterated her administration's willingness to negotiate with authorities in Beijing. The speech marked Taiwan's National Day. That's a very calculated balancing act by Taiwan, and a significant indicator that Taiwan doesn't want this to get out of hand, Sun said. Neither side is intending to fight a war at this moment.